Your grandma doesn't want to tell you this, but you're going to make a sacrifice whether or not you follow your heart. I don't even pay attention to minimum requirements when it comes to job descriptions. I'm not going to go and get a whole 4-year degree just so I can meet your minimum requirements. You really need to stop chasing money if you want to get to a place where money comes more effortlessly to you. You make entrepreneurship sound like it's that easy. It's not that much harder than being an employee. People less qualified than you are doing it. People less smart than you are doing it. In this video, I want to give you guys 9 pieces of career advice that I wish somebody gave me that I learned once I realized that this whole thing is kind of just rigged. Everything I say in this video is just my opinion from my experience. This is not career, business, or financial advice. This is not professional advice, so take it with a grain of salt and do what's best for your life. Okay, number 1, if you have a secure job, plan to be fired. It's such a rookie mistake, right? When like a lot of us are newbies at work, we come in with this fairy tale mentality and then they tell us all these sweet nothings talking about we're family. Like you don't realize that like you're literally entering like a tyrannical organization. When you go into a corporation, you need to put your defenses up. You need to plan for the firing or for the layoff because it may come. So what you need to do is get out of this fairy tale mentality and always be 10 steps ahead. Always ensure your own freedom when you're in these companies. These companies are not gonna like take care of you. They're not your mom. So you need to look out for yourself. They look out for themselves against you, their employee. So you need to look out for yourself. So you need to be like, okay, if I get fired, how can I, or if shit hits the fan, if things go left, if somebody starts bullying me or someone starts abusing me or starts to pretend like I'm not working how I'm supposed to, how can I set myself up for success? Make sure you always have a fuck you fund, okay? Always have 6 months of savings if you can manage it. A lot of people, when they get a new job, they instantly go and upgrade their life and then they're not able to save. And then now they're living paycheck to paycheck. Keep your expenses low enough so that you can always save every month. The moment somebody tries to play in your face, somebody tries to bully you or abuse you, you can be like, goodbye, I'm not spending my energy on this. I'm not going to let this traumatize me. So, but a lot of us don't do that. And then we end up in positions where we're being either abused or we're being mistreated at work or we're being pushed out and like we literally don't have an option. And that's a very dangerous place to be in. A lot of the times when companies try to like fire and push people out, it's not even like personal necessarily. It's just like they're having budget issues. And so now they have to literally just push people out, but they don't want to get sued for firing people for no reason. So they have to play these stupid games and act like you're a problem or like try to like, you know what I mean? Like layoffs are real now. They don't even need much of an excuse to fire you these days. They can just say business restructuring, layoff, that's it. So like just always be prepared. And another thing that I will say is always have a therapist. That really comes in handy. If you're ever in a position where like, you know, you have too much anxiety or you're too stressed or, you know, your anxiety is basically like disabling at this point, like you don't have to push through it because you don't have the evidence that like, hey, this is actually like a short-term disability that I need to be able to get a leave for. You can apply for that leave and, you know, leave work and still have an income, right? A lot of people, it's like they don't necessarily think ahead about that. To me, it's always a good idea to just have a medical professional who kind of knows what's going on so that, you know, if you ever need to apply for like a short-term disability, they, you know, can recommend that when they see fit. So these are just ways to kind of like look out for yourself, okay? So that you're not in a super vulnerable place. Number 2, the most dangerous advice comes from the most cautious people. People who are overly cautious, people who play it safe in life, people who never take a risk in their life are the very people that you need to never listen to, okay? The problem with people who have never taken a risk in their life is that these people don't actually know how to calculate risk properly. They think in a very one-dimensional way. They don't think about what is the cost of me not doing it though. So if I don't leave my job to start my business because I'm going to lose my income, what is the sacrifice that I'm making if I do stay in my job and don't go start my business? So they're kind of only looking at half the picture. And a lot of the times they're doing it from a position of fear. So somebody might tell you, don't quit your job and go start your business. That's stupid. What are you going to do without an income for a whole year? But if you're like, I'm going to sacrifice not having an income for a whole year, but the next year you're making double what you were making the year before or triple, which happens a lot for people who leave employment to go into business. And I'm not trying to make it seem like it's easy, but I'm also not going to to try to make it seem like it's hard just to fit your narrative. People who are like, oh, you make entrepreneurship sound like it's that easy. I'm like, it's not that much harder than being an employee. Like, I don't know why you guys act like it's this impossible thing. And yet people less qualified than you are doing it. People less smart than you are doing it. I feel like people literally feel they just like the comfort of being told entrepreneurship is too hard, so you shouldn't do it. Like, you just like that comfort because that's the way that the system pushes us to think. So it's uncomfortable for you to be told that, no, actually entrepreneurship is very doable. You just have to go against the grain. But people don't want to be told to go against the grain. They want to stay in their comfort. They want to be told to stay in their comfort zone. But I'm not going to do that on this channel, which is why I say entrepreneurship, anybody can do it. I don't think it's this like big thing. So yeah, people who try to make it seem like it's this like obvious decision not to, take a different path are people who are not considering all the variables. Yes, they might have a steady job, but they're miserable. They hate their job. You don't know what sacrifice they're making in order to live that life. They've stagnated for like 5 whole years. They haven't done anything. They live their life the same way every day for year after year after year. And they just postpone their dreams as if the future is guaranteed. They're not calculating that risk. They're like, oh, I'll get to do what I want once I retire. Who says that the future is guaranteed? Who says that you'll even make it to retirement? You could literally die tomorrow. These are the things that they don't consider. So they're actually less informed. And like, they like to say these things like it's not common sense. This is common sense because this is how capitalism programs us to be. Like, you're not telling me anything revolutionary by telling me that I should stay in my comfort zone. And yeah, like, are you gonna fail? Yeah, but it'll accelerate you. So yes, you will fail. Do it anyway. So what? Failing is literally a part of it. I saw this animation where it showed that like if you put a ball on a slope and the slope is straight, it'll accelerate slower than if you put it on a slope that's bumpy. The thing is, taking risks is a part of life. You advance faster when you have a bumpier road because with every failure, you learn the lesson in depth and then it like leaps you forward when you fail, right? If your path in life is just steady and slow and you won't progress as fast, if it's bumpy and you learn and you fail and you get set back and then you go forward and then you go back and then you're taking a different path from everybody else, you might actually advance very quickly. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, some of the creative people like are some of the richest people in the world. It's people who are just like, look, I'm going to take a different path. The actors and singers and who just decided they were going to bet on themselves. And then they end up being crazy rich. I'm going to say, well, it's not the case for everybody. I don't see the benefit of telling people not to try something. Like, okay, fine. I may not get the exact success that they're going to get, but I feel like I can get like 50% of that or even 10% of that. So it's not about over promising. It's just about like, I don't see the benefit of encouraging people to not follow their dreams. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. The whole system is encouraging you to not follow your dreams. We've already seen how that played out. So why don't you run the other experiment and see how that plays out? Okay, number 3, chasing money is the fastest way to end up broke and or miserable. Money is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it runs away. Let me ask you guys a question. If you had to say between time and money, what is the more precious resource? Put it in the comments below. A lot of people would say time is the more precious resource, even though that's not how we act, but like I'll get to that. If you had to choose between time and energy, which is the more precious resource? A lot of people will say that time is a more precious resource or it'll be 50-50. So I was actually watching this Harvard lecture and they talked about how energy is actually the most precious resource, even more than time. So if we look at the order of priorities, it would be energy is the most precious, time is the next most precious resource, and then money is the least most precious. Most employees, we make money the most important, and then we make maybe time or energy second or third there. But when you look at people who are actually successful, who are like business owners, they're fundamentally making the trade-off of getting their time back in exchange for money, getting their energy back in exchange for money. So they pay other people to do the labor for them. This is one thing that I've learned in my whole journey of trying to like transition from an employee mindset to like a business owner mindset is like, I really had to flip this on its head and I really had to start prioritizing my energy and my time over money. I recently turned out a job that offered me $170K because I was like, I want to prioritize my time. I want my time back so that I can focus on my business. Like, I just don't want to cripple myself with this job, which is, yes, a lot of money. And yes, I'm opting to not have a job and be broke and not be able to like sign up for an apartment and be living out of Airbnbs and or living on my family members' couches, which is literally what I'm doing right now. But that gives me my time back and my energy back to really figure out what my purpose is is and build a business around that. And ever since I started making those decisions, I'm actually getting to a point where like I'm starting to become profitable. I'm starting to make money more effortlessly. And had I not made that decision, I would still be stuck in that 9 to 5 job where I'm literally still trading time for money and trading energy for money. And the reason why I believe that this is the case is because nature says that your energy and your time is more precious than money. But capitalism says that money is the most important thing. So people who are living according to the rules of capitalism and who are just super consumed by capitalism because they think this is like the supreme system that we live under, and like as if there isn't like a natural system that like supersedes capitalism. Like capitalism is literally a man-made system and you're like betting everything on it. While this seems like counterintuitive, like you really need to stop chasing money if you want to get to a place where money comes more effortlessly to you. Okay, number 4, your degree is a tool, not a trophy. I feel like we've kind of lost the plot when it comes to what education is really for. I feel like people are going to school solely to get this credential so that somebody else can tell them that they're good enough. And this doesn't apply to things like, medicine, law, where there's a legal requirement for you to have a credential in order for you to do the work. You should be going to school and getting these credentials for your own education. This education is supposed to be a tool. It's not a trophy for you to show off. It's a tool for you to take that knowledge and actually get an ROI out of it. People don't think about that. I feel like they just take a 4-year degree for something that you really don't need a 4-year degree for. Like if you're going to college for something that's like creative, like do you really need to pay 6 figures for a degree for that? Like, you know what I mean? Like just jump into it, But even our parents, sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, nobody's going to take you seriously. People don't take people seriously that don't have degrees. But you have to be brave enough, and you should be brave enough to just not be dictated by external validation. I went to college and I got my degree in psychology. I was pre-med. Then I graduated. Then I was like, I don't want to do anything related to psychology or medicine. So I found a boot camp. I literally went to a software engineering immersive and I made it to, companies like Microsoft, which people think that's like an accomplishment. You can literally make it into these big tech companies. You don't have to take the long route. And some people will say like, okay, well, you still need like a bachelor's degree. This is like the minimum requirements. Another kid that was in the same boot camp that I went to, he was literally 18, fresh out of high school, went to a boot camp, 3-month program, and got a job at Google fresh out of that boot camp. So literally, like, I don't even pay attention to minimum requirements when it comes to job descriptions, to be honest. I'll just go into the interview, I'll demonstrate my knowledge, and they can decide. I'm not gonna go and get a whole 4-year degree just so I can meet your minimum requirements. I'm not doing that. I'll go work for a company that doesn't need that. Because the other thing, it's an indication of bad company culture when a company is so gung-ho about you having a credential that like literally doesn't even matter. What should matter to them is whether or not you can solve their problem. There's people who've been coding since they're in 6th grade. And this is another thing that I tell Gen Zers. They're like, oh, I don't have any job experience. Look, if you want to know how to showcase your skills without job experience and to find a company that's going, get my job search like a business playbook, because experience is like, yes, but really you want to go to a company that's more focused on solving their problem and not like, are you good enough for us? Like it's probably not going to be a good experience anyways. Number 5, entrepreneurship skills are not optional knowledge. It's baseline literacy. The first reason why I believe this is because if you give somebody the power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you. I actually kind of feel like it's by design that we're not taught entrepreneurship skills, or we're encouraged to specialize, and that the people who are at the top of the totem pole in our world are the people who are the most literate in entrepreneurship, because they want you to remain illiterate so that they can use you, oppress you. Being in a situation where you're working for one person, they're taking away your ability to work for someone else, so you can't have other clients. This is the one person that you're fully dependent on. To me, there's something that feels a bit inappropriate about it. I am not opposed to people collaborating. I'm not opposed to like business to business collaboration or like freelancer to freelancer. We're all freelancers. We're all businesses. In my view, and I'm not an economics expert, but I feel like it's bad for the economy to have an economy where everybody's kind of dependent on a job, because it actually promotes like monopolies and like a situation where 5 companies are making all the decisions for all of society because they have all the money, they have all the capital. Like, I don't think it's a good thing. And I also don't think it leads to fulfillment, because if somebody else is telling you what problems you need to be working on, that means you're not listening to your natural intuition and like your actual purpose about why you're here. I am in that journey where I'm like transitioning towards living more aligned with my purpose and not in line with like this whole capitalist mentality. And I'm going to continue to make videos on that and like tell you guys all about what I'm learning and like show you guys the ins and outs. So yeah, more content on that. Okay, number 6, the most powerful way to build a network is to stop trying to build one. Networking, it's turned into just just making friends with an ulterior motive. You're all just kind of there to use each other. You can have a bunch of people around you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to really advocate for you or really try to help you get a job when they need it, right? This tit for tat, this super transactional, like I don't think it's the best approach when it comes to networking. And also the people that you're keeping in your network just to keep them warm for when you need a job, they kind of feel that you're keeping them in their life just so you can use them when the time is right, you know? And I think that's so bad for the culture. I think that it's far more important, if you want to have a strong network, is learn how to build friendships, learn human skills, learn how to communicate, and build a network of people that you have a real relationship with. Like numbers is not always necessarily the way to go. Like sometimes it's better to just have a deeper connection with people, and that will lead to more opportunities and people who actually care about you. Okay, number 7, the moment you start competing, you've already lost. So we live in, again, a capitalist society that tells us like, oh, we should be competing 24/7, right? The problem with competing is that you end up kind of just alone when you compete with people. I feel like it's more of our nature for us to work together. So competing, yes, it might get you ahead to an extent in capitalism, but as far as like the natural system that we live in, it actually is going to leave you in a place where you don't have friends. Your coworkers don't like you. Even if you do make money or you get that promotion by kicking your coworker down, that coworker may go off to another company where they could have, recommended you for in the future if you needed it, but you burnt that bridge because you were busy competing. But this is like kind of the culture that these work environments promote. It's like they want us to compete with each other. They want us to not be friends because when you're divided, they conquer easier. So we need to be aware of this and just be like, I get that that's what you're encouraging us to do, but I'm not about to shoot down the person that I'm working with. Like, I'm just not going to do that for a $20 promotion. I'm not doing that. The other thing is when you decide to leave that job and go start your own company, you have this such individualistic competitive mindset that like when you go into business, you can't actually like beat these big companies. I don't remember who asked me this, but somebody was like, how can small businesses really compete with big businesses? It's difficult. I'm like, well, that's because you guys are still in this competitive mindset. If you guys collaborate as small companies, that's enough to seriously compete with a bigger company. Like they're culturally conditioning us to be individualistic and competitive so that we can't even get to a point where we compete with these monopolies and disempower them. The more divided we are, the easier it is to conquer. Number 8, switching careers isn't quitting. Staying in the wrong one is. So this is another thing that like a lot of young people don't know. Like switching careers is actually something that people do a lot. I remember when I decided to switch careers, I went to college, 4.5-year degree, thinking that I was going to go on to be a doctor. I just woke up one day and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not going down this path. I'm just going to listen to my intuition. So there's this thing called the sunk cost fallacy, which says that like people, once they invest in something, they feel like they can't get out of it because they've invested too much. So like me, basically with like the whole pre-med thing, I could have said like, oh my God, I've put 4 years into this. Like, what am I going to do? Like, and people who get stuck in the sunk cost fallacy, it's actually a trap. Like it's actually a trap. You have to be willing to cut your losses and move on to the next thing. You can't just be going down a path that you know is wrong just because you're continuing to dig yourself into the hole. So it doesn't matter what you've sacrificed at this point. Cut your losses and go. 9 times out of 10, whatever skills and experience and lessons you learned during that journey will actually be transferable in the next thing that you're doing. So don't feel like, oh, I'm losing everything. And even if you are losing some things, it's okay. Cut the losses and move on. You're going to a better place. Focus on the future. Like a lot of people will start a business that's making them miserable because it wasn't like aligned with their purpose. Maybe they started it for money, right? And they feel like, oh, well, now we already have this whole established thing. Girl, shut that shit down and go to the next thing. Like you can't just sit in a state of misery because you're like holding on to the investment. Like stop falling into this sunk cost fallacy trap. Will there be pain? Will it be a setback? Yes, it will be a setback, but you are going to ultimately end up in a better position if you pivot and adapt and move in a direction that's more in line with your intuition. So that's my advice. That's what I did. Number 8, follow your heart. Guys, this is not just a cute thing that grandmas say. There are consequences when you don't follow your heart. This is the part that the grandmas leave out. Like your grandma doesn't want to tell you this, but you're going to make a sacrifice whether or not you follow your heart. A lot of people, when they're not following their heart, they're trying to make the logical decision that's going to make money. I need a respectable career. I need this. Like you have a purpose that you were put on this earth to do. And that purpose is how you can make your maximum impact because your strengths are aligned with that purpose. You are prioritizing capitalism and the money system over the natural system, and the natural system is always going to win. So if you don't follow your intuition and you don't go down the career path that you know you should be going to, that your intuition tells you to go down because you're afraid, or oh, nobody's taking that path. Everybody has a different purpose. Like, it's actually kind of odd that like we're all here doing the same job, the same thing. Like, do you really think the natural system is supposed to be that way? Like, do you guys really think we're all supposed to be solving the same? This is why we have so many problems in the world. I really believe this. It's because people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They've literally created these boxes of tasks and they're like, this is what you're supposed to do. Like, no, nature is not that orderly. Everything is not in a cute little box. Like, in nature, in my view, like there's problems in the world and different people have the skill set to solve these problems from different angles, right? And in different creative ways. And that's how we effectively solve the problems in our world and in our society. And that's how we become happier as a people. But like, we're being boxed into these specific tasks to solve problems that make rich people rich, not problems that actually are beneficial for all of society. So when you follow your heart and you follow your natural strengths, you'll actually make more money and be more successful because you're able to make maximum impact. When I do things that are aligned with my strengths, like making these videos, like really aligns with my strengths, it takes like very little effort for me to do it. And yet I feel like it has more of an impact than when I'm using every ounce of my energy to like build applications in like a miserable job that I hate. I just don't care about this problem that I'm solving to begin with. There's a cap on how much money I can make because somebody's dictating how much money I can make. Like, it takes all my energy, drains me. If we look at the socioeconomic totem pole, the people who are doing businesses and who get to dictate what problems they want to solve, they're the ones making more money. People who are sitting there being dictated to what problems they should be spending their energy on, they're not making that much money. Once you master how to create an impact in the world with your natural strengths, you will make more money over time. If you agree that we need to take grandma wisdom more seriously, leave a grandma emoji in the comments. So I'm gonna give you guys a bonus because in the last video I said 9 things I learned, but I only give 8 pieces of advice. So in this video, I'm gonna actually give you 10 instead of 9. So this is the bonus. If you need someone else to believe in your dream before you do it, it's already over for you. Guys, we literally live in a capitalist society that instills fear in people and basically makes them revolve their life around money. So most people are not chasing their dreams because they're prioritizing getting money. So if you really feel like I really want to chase my dreams, like I really want to go for what I know is the right thing for me to do, what my intuition is telling me to do, don't turn around and like expect other people to give you the permission to do that. Literally, they don't even believe in themselves enough to go for their dreams. People are so programmed and brainwashed to play it safe throughout life that like you're not gonna get anything good from asking people. You kind of just need to ignore everybody and you really have to like self-fuel and which is why it's so difficult for people to just leave their 9-to-5 and go and start a business, because it really takes like internal validation for you to actually take that step. Like, they're not going to tell you anything that's actually going to help you get out of the box. They're just going to tell you what's comfortable because they're doing what's comfortable. The default is that people will not believe in what you're doing because they don't even believe in what they're doing. Until they see it manifest and actually become money, they're not going to believe in it. Stay tuned. I'll be making a lot more videos on this stuff with a lot more lessons and documenting my journey, following my dreams and my purpose. Remember, if you want to know how to job search, get my job search like a business playbook. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.